Welcome to your personalized deep dive. So you want to work on your English pronunciation, huh? And you've chosen tongue twisters. I think that's a great idea. They're not just fun, although they are fun, but they're actually really effective. And we've got 10, I think, really fantastic tongue twisters ready to go.
That's right. They really are more than just silly rhymes.
Okay.
They're like exercises for the muscles we use when we speak.
Okay, cool. So let's jump right in. How about this one? She sells seashells by the seashore.
A classic.
It is a classic.
And a perfect example of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Notice all those S's and SHS. To get those right requires pretty precise tongue placement and airflow.
Yeah.
It's like you're isolating a very specific muscle group when you work out.
That makes a lot of sense, though I always stumble over that one. She shells by the seashore. See what I mean? A tongue twister for a reason.
Exactly. But with practice, you'll train those muscles to, coordinate better. And that'll translate into clearer S and she sounds that you use in everyday speech.
Yeah.
And that'll make you easier to understand.
Okay, I'm ready for the next challenge. What do we got?
How about this one? This one focuses on the R and L sounds. Red lorry, yellow lorry. And this can be tricky for non-native speakers because the English R often requires a tongue position that's different from other languages.
Red lorry, yellow lorry. Oh yeah, I can feel that one. My tongue feels tangled. Is that a common issue?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Many language learners, I think, tend to push their tongues forward. And that can make the R sound more like a W. The key is to practice that curl back position, almost like you're about to gargle. It makes a huge difference in words like right versus light, for instance.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how mastering that subtle difference would just be a game changer for clarity. Bring on the next one.
Okay, how about unique New York? This one highlights the U and N sounds.
Unique New York.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I got that one. I'll admit that one felt a little easier. Are vowels really that important in tongue twisters? I always thought it was more about the consonants.
You're right. The consonant clusters often get a lot of the attention. But vowels are crucial too. The clarity of your vowels actually impacts how easily people can comprehend your speech. And this one, unique New York, it forces you to hold those vowel sounds nice and clearly. And that's good practice for any conversation, really.
I never thought about it like that. So it's not just about speed, it's also about just making every sound distinct.
Exactly. Now, are you ready for a classic?
Hit me with it.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
I remember that one from when I was a kid. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. It's almost like a little song. Is that part of why they're so memorable?
I think you're onto something. A lot of tongue twisters have a rhythm or a cadence, and that makes them easier to remember and easier to practice. It's like learning a short musical phrase with your mouth.
Okay, I'm starting to see the method to the madness here. What other phonetic hurdles do we have?
Let's try this one. This one challenges your tongue's agility with C and CL sounds. How can a clam cram in a clean cream can?
Whoa, how can a clam cram in a clean cream can? I feel like I need to take a deep breath before I even attempt that one.
You and me both.
Yes.
It's a real tongue twister obstacle course.
It is.
But the quick succession of sounds demands precise and rapid movements from your tongue. And that's the beauty of it. The more you challenge your tongue, the stronger and more agile it becomes.
Right. It's like pushing your limits so you can handle any pronunciation challenge that comes your way. So what's next?
How about friendly fleas and fireflies? This one combines F and FL sounds.
Friendly fleas and fireflies. Okay. That feels a little gentler on the tongue. Are those sounds really that tricky, though?
Well, this one might sound a bit lighter, but F and FL can be challenging to distinguish, especially when you're speaking quickly. Think about the difference between free and flee. It's subtle.
Yeah, you're right. And those little distinctions can make a big difference in how clear you are. What else do we have?
Okay, let's go for a slithery one. 6 slippery snails slid slowly seaward. This one's got S and SL sounds.
6 slippery snails slid slowly seaward.
Oh, man. It's tough. It's like my tongue is trying to tie itself in knots.
It's definitely a challenge. The combination of the S, the SL, the repetition, it demands precise tongue placement and control. But don't worry if you stumble at first. Just break it down. Practice each sound individually and it'll get easier.
Okay, I'm up for the challenge. What's next in our pronunciation boot camp?
All right. Let's try another classic. Betty Botter bought some butter. But pay close attention to those B and T sounds. They can be very easy to confuse, especially at speed.
Betty Botter bought some butter.
Huh. You know what? I think I actually do have trouble with that one. I tend to pronounce the T very softly, almost like a D. Is that something that tongue twisters can help with?
Absolutely. They force you to be conscious of those very subtle differences, and they train your mouth to articulate them precisely. It's like you're fine-tuning an instrument to get perfect pitch.
A proper copper coffee pot? Did you just make that one up?
Actually, no. It's a classic one. It combines P and C sounds. Give it a try.
A proper copper coffee pot. My lips and tongue are getting a workout, but I'm starting to enjoy this. It's challenging, but it's also strangely satisfying.
It is. And that sense of accomplishment, I think, is part of what makes tongue twisters so effective. You're training your mouth to work in new ways.
Bring on the final challenge. I'm ready to tackle anything.
Excellent. How about this for grand finale? The 33 thieves thought they thrilled the throne throughout Thursday. This one combines TH and R sound.
Whoa! The 33 thieves thought they thrilled the throne throughout Thursday. Okay, that one feels like a marathon. I need a water break.
It's definitely a mouthful, but it's a fantastic way to test your mastery of those TH and R sounds. And remember, even if you stumble a bit, the effort itself is really improving your pronunciation skills.
Right. It's all about pushing those boundaries and seeing what my tongue can do.
Exactly. And you know what? Tongue twisters have actually been around for centuries.
Seriously, I thought they were just silly rhymes. I'd love to know more about their history.
Well, it turns out they have roots in ancient word games and traditions.
Oh, wow.
Think ancient Greece and Rome, where orators used similar techniques to practice their elocution.
Wow. So it wasn't just about having fun.
Well, they were fun, but they also served a real purpose. These verbal gymnastics, they help train speakers to articulate, clearly project their voices, maintain a smooth flow. And these were all essential skills for captivating an audience.
That makes so much sense. It's like a secret weapon for confident communication, just disguised as a playful challenge.
Yeah.
But where did these specific tongue twisters that we're practicing come from? Are they just random phrases, or do they have like stories behind them?
That's a great question. Some of them have very clear origins, while others are kind of shrouded in mystery. Take Betty Botter bought some butter, for example. It's believed to have originated from a real Betty Botter. She was a butter maker in the 19th century.
No way. So our tongue twister struggles were actually a 19th century butter making problem.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, not exactly a problem.
Yeah.
But, the tongue twister, it likely stemmed from a real life situation and evolved over time. And then you have tongue twisters like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. And this one has a much more mysterious past.
I've always wondered about that one. It's so vivid and specific. I always figured there had to be a real Peter Piper somewhere.
Well, there are theories, of course.
Right.
Some people think it might be linked to an actual person. Maybe a gardener or a spice trader. But nobody knows for sure. It's a historical puzzle waiting to be solved.
So some tongue twisters are like little time capsules presuming little bits of linguistic history.
I like that.
That adds a whole other layer of intrigue to practicing them. But speaking of practice, what are the best strategies for actually mastering these tricky phrases?
Well, that's where the real work begins. And you know what? This reminds me of something.
Of what?
I was at a conference one time,
Yeah.
and this presenter was just so eloquent. He's just captivating the audience. And afterwards, I overheard somebody mention that this guy used to practice tongue twisters religiously. And it just clicked for me. That connection between these seemingly silly exercises and commanding a room with your words.
Okay. Now I'm even more motivated to get this right. So what are your top tips for making the most of my tongue twister training?
Well, first and foremost, start slow.
Okay.
Resist the urge to just race through the entire phrase. Break it down into smaller chunks. Focus on articulating each sound clearly. It's like building a muscle. You start with lighter weights, and then you gradually increase the resistance.
Slow and steady wins the tongue twister race. Got it.
Exactly. And just like weight training, repetition is key. The more you practice a particular tongue twister, the stronger those mouth muscles get, and the easier it becomes to say it smoothly. Another helpful tip, I think, is to use a mirror. Watch your mouth as you practice. Make sure that your tongue, your lips, and your jaw are moving correctly. You'd be surprised how often we think we're making the right sound, but our mouths are doing something totally different.
Oh, I can definitely relate to that. I've caught myself mispronouncing words even when I thought I had them down pat. So a mirror sounds like a great way to catch those little slip-ups. Anything else?
Don't be afraid to challenge yourself.
Okay.
Once you've mastered a tongue twister at a slower speed, gradually increase the pace. See how fast you can say it without making any mistakes? Think of it like leveling up in a pronunciation video game.
I like that analogy. It's all about pushing those boundaries and seeing what my tongue can really do. It's less of a chore and more of a playful workout for my pronunciation muscles.
Exactly. And the more you challenge yourself, the more progress you'll make.
Yeah.
But remember, it's also about having fun. When you enjoy the process, you're more likely to stick with it and you're more likely to see results. It's really quite amazing how much we've uncovered in this deep dive into tongue twisters.
Yeah.
From their ancient origins to their very practical applications.
It really is. Yeah. And to think we started this journey just wanting to improve pronunciation. Now I see them as like a gateway to better communication, a connection to the past, and just a fun way to challenge myself.
It's been a truly enlightening exploration. But before we wrap things up, I want to leave you with something to ponder as you continue on your pronunciation journey.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Could mastering tongue twisters not only make you a clearer speaker, but also a more persuasive and engaging communicator?
That's a really interesting question. I've never thought about it that way before.
Think about it. When you can effortlessly navigate complex phrases and pronounce words with precision, it commands attention, it inspires confidence, and it ultimately makes your message more impactful.
That's a really powerful insight. It's not just about saying the words correctly. It's about how that clarity and that confidence can influence how others perceive you.
Exactly. And while there's no guarantee that mastering tongue twisters will turn you into this master persuader, it's certainly a valuable tool to have in your communication arsenal.
I'm definitely going to keep that in mind as I practice. It adds like a whole new layer of motivation to my tongue twister journey.
Excellent. And remember, the most important thing is to enjoy the process. Embrace the challenge, have fun with it, and celebrate every improvement that you make along the way. Maybe someday someone will be practicing a tongue twister that you helped popularize.
Wow, that would be amazing. To think that a tongue twister that I'm struggling with today could become a classic that's passed down through generations.
It's certainly possible. After all, language is constantly evolving and new expressions are always emerging.
Well, I'm feeling inspired to keep practicing these tongue twisters, not just for my own pronunciation, but also to maybe play a small part in keeping this tradition alive.
That's a wonderful sentiment. It speaks to the power of language to connect us across time and to create a sense of shared experience.
Absolutely. So we've covered the history, the benefits, even the origins and best practices for using tongue twisters. But now I'm curious, do you have any personal favorites? Ones that you find particularly fun or challenging?
There's one that always comes to mind. Irish wristwatch. Swiss wristwatch.
Oh, Irish wristwatch. Swiss wristwatch. I can see why that would be a challenge. Those R's and W's together are definitely going to put my tongue to the test.
It's a great one to practice those sounds in combination, and it always makes me smile. Something about the imagery, I guess.
Yeah, and honestly, that's something that I've really enjoyed about this whole deep dive, just rediscovering the fun and the playfulness of language. It's so easy to get caught up in all the rules and the mechanics. But tongue twisters, they remind us that language can just be a source of joy and amusement.
I agree. And that sense of play can make the learning process so much more enjoyable and effective. When you're having fun, you're more likely to stick with it.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. You know who knew that something as simple as a tongue twister could unlock so much? We've gone from basic pronunciation tips to exploring like history and culture and even the psychology of persuasion, all through these like playful phrases.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's a real testament to the power of language.
Absolutely. Well, I'm feeling inspired to keep practicing, keep challenging myself, and just see how far these tongue twisters can take me. And who knows, maybe someday I'll even coin a tongue twister of my own.
I have no doubt you will. Remember, the journey itself is part of the reward. Embrace the challenge, have fun with it, and celebrate every improvement that you make along the way.
I will. This has been a fantastic journey, and I can't thank you enough for being such a brilliant guide.
The pleasure was all mine. Keep those tongues limber and keep exploring the fascinating world of language.
And to all of you listening, thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration. Until then, keep those tongues twisting and keep those minds curious.